Welcome to the Unfiltered Path podcast, where we explore life's journeys without the constraints of filters. In a world saturated with highlight reels, we dive deep into the true essence of individual experiences, offering our listeners an uncensored glimpse into the triumphs, the struggles, and the transformative moments that define us. Our mission is to provide hope, inspire resilience, and to remind you that every path, no matter how windy or rocky, can lead and will lead to growth and enlightenment. Join us as we navigated the uncharted territories of truth and to be moved, inspired, and discover that you are not alone in this unfiltered journey of life. Good morning, everyone. My name is Trinity Baker. I am a mindset coach. I teach my clients how to change their lives and step into their true potential with the power of their mindset. And I'm joined here with my co-host.
Hi, my name is Danielle. I'm the owner of Aerial Jade. I'm an aerialist. That's fancy for performing suspended in the air. And I am here with my co-host.
My name is Graham Duval. I am the owner of Valued Productions. My company provides video marketing strategies to help your business become more successful. And I'm super excited to have our awesome guest with us today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Lockach. I'm a board-certified family medicine physician, and I'm disrupting the primary care industry with my direct primary care clinic, River Rock Clinic, where I get to live out my doctor dreams of being in alignment with my values. So actually listening to patients, using holistic medicine, and providing excellent primary health care to those who otherwise wouldn't get it. LGBTQ and transgender folks, people of color, and people struggling with mental health issues.
You actually make me want to go to the doctor.
For real.
I don't go to the doctor, but I'd go to see you.
Really like serving those people who don't go to the doctor but would go and see you. I think that's
that is really cool.
Yeah, I think in our society, right, doctors are they're so unreachable, right? They wear that big long coat that they spent 12 years getting. They speak in ways that aren't even English, they're old Latin. and they're not even in a way part of our society, right? You don't see them at the baseball games, you don't see them at your kids' games because they're working in the evenings after work writing notes for insurance companies that are forced, and they're a different socioeconomic bracket and they're so removed. But I hopefully am here to kind of bridge that gap and give that doctor perspective, because we're people too.
Beautiful.
That's so key. I think that just alone sets you so far apart in this profession. Like, the relatability is just absolutely amazing.
And what
doctors should be.
Yes.
Right.
I went to her, she had a Zoom and I was like, I am your ideal customer. Cause like, I feel like, I go internal first and then I'll seek a doctor. But I would have more creative questions to better myself if like I had accessibility to you, or of your kind. So she looked up in Maine. So you're called a private
direct primary care physician.
Direct primary care physician. She Googled it and there's only like them in Portland.
Yeah, so direct primary care respects the doctor-patient relationship, right? Like, you should feel comfortable with your doctor. They should be relatable because you're telling them all your embarrassing issues about your pooping problems, your farting problems, whatever. They should be relatable and you should feel comfortable. And two, they should exemplify health, right? So they shouldn't be sitting in the hospital typing away like I did when I was working in Maine for 3 years in residency. You're the physicians and that lifestyle of kind of corporate medicine, it's not healthy, right? Whereas your doctor should be an example of health, so they can actually tell you how to really do it in this modern crazy world of social media and disconnection and loneliness. So direct primary care brings all those things together. So doctors and the patient, they actually have a relationship. The patient pays the doctor an affordable monthly fee, like a membership. And in exchange, they get direct access to their doctor. So my patients can text me, my cell phone, I pick up, they can call me, and they can email me, along with all other primary care services.
I love that.
That is
Changing,
super cool.
changing the world of medicine. And as a former nurse who left because of the way our medical industry is and how our medical professionals are treated, and how inadequate care is provided and treatments are prescribed. I love that you're changing that. Like, I love that. I hope that there's more people like you, and so that generations from now, when people go into the healthcare industry, they're not treated like our current healthcare industry is treated. That is like one of the most needed industries. Like, we're all humans, we all have organs and functions, sicknesses, and like, it's needed. It's not something you can pick and choose. And so we need healthcare workers in all regards, right? So if you can, like, one person changing the world is what I see, is like just more of you saying, look, we don't have to live this way. It's what I do with people's mental health, right? Is we don't have to live unhappy. So this brings me to the question, Kat, because we were talking prior to actually starting the recording of this episode, is like normalizing that suffering and struggles that we all do go through. Just as we all have healthcare needs, we all go through these struggles and challenges. So talk a little bit about that, because you had a really great outlook. I think you came on this podcast this morning because I needed to hear your message. So I'm sure that there's other listeners here who are like, I need to hear this too. So tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are on suffering.
I think suffering, especially in American healthcare system, patients are used to suffering not just from their diseases, but suffering from the medical industrial complex itself, right? So patients are used to waiting 3 months to see their doctor and wondering if their abdominal pain is an ovary bursted and they're going to die. And they're used to suffering for months, wondering. They're used to calling their doctor and waiting an hour and talking to 3 nurses, and then maybe the doctor calling them 2 weeks later. And so that suffering is normalized because people don't know a way out. And not to say that suffering isn't needed. Suffering will happen whether we want it to or not. I think the majority of modern American life is suffering. Even I, as a physician, right, who has the degree that took 12 years to get, I'm in the highest privileged position, right? Everyone trusts a doctor. I'm the most educated person in our society, and still a huge part of my day is really suffering. Answering emails that don't even seem real, social media, all this noise in our life. It's a lot of suffering, and I think that's a part of being a human, and we have to acknowledge that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. When you were talking about that, it just made me think that like that suffering and recognizing it like that is the thing. And when you can have a place that like respects it, it's the thing that can actually get you to change. Because I know for myself, like if it wasn't so bad at the times when in my life where like a lot of change happened, I wouldn't have changed. You know what I mean? It's not like I went to, become sober because like life was amazing and I was just like, oh, I'm going to do this thing. You know what I mean? It was horrible, and like had to realize that was like that, and that's the thing that got me to change and move into a new place in the world.
So you had to realize how horrible it was before you were ready to move on.
Right.
Suffering's perception based. What's one person's suffering isn't to another's as well. So while you listed yours, I think like suffering is a little different. And it's not biased to education or race or location, privilege.
That is a huge point.
It's definitely up for perception. So, well, I don't like doing media and answering emails. It's not my suffering.
That's
You
your
know
way of
what?
driving answering emails.
It was on
You're really
myself.
your best self when you're replying to an
Absolutely.
email.
I had to reschedule a whole meeting that I run because my child's sick and I am one person and it's my son's birthday and I have a birthday party. So my suffering this morning was not an email. I sent like 20 before it was 7:30 from my bed. Like, this day's got to switch quick.
Yeah.
She's
I
puking.
think, I think also, yes, suffering is like perception based. Every
Yeah.
single one of us has different emotions, different outlooks on life, and
I
our
suffer for a living.
yeah, yeah, that too.
Okay.
Like a lot of us voluntarily suffer because we know that it's going to get us to that next step in the growth that we need. But also, what we suffer with and the challenges that we have and are blessed with is exactly that. They're blessings because it is higher power given to us. So the suffering that we experience is higher power given to us to mold us, to shift us, to, like Graham said, when the pain is freaking hard, you make decisions. And I see people every day that come to me, and I'm sure you do too, Dr. Cat, is that people suffer. They suffer and they suffer and they will continue to suffer until it hurts bad enough to change.
Mm-hmm.
And
this,
yeah, sometimes we just have to wait. It's that like continuous support of being there. You know, friends do it too. Like Graham and Danielle, I'm sure you have friends and family who you see continue suffer things, and you're like, yeah, I'm here. I'm here for you when you're ready.
Mm-hmm. So this is what I'm convinced of as a human, but also as a physician. Suffering is the price that we pay for spirituality. We cannot see the light. We cannot know God. We cannot know higher spirit without first suffering. I knew this especially when I was in Maine. So I'd finished residency, right? Finished all the years of training, crazy hours in the hospital. And I went to this nature camp right in Augusta, Maine, in the middle of nowhere. And we had this 24-hour survival trip where we built a hut of leaves and sticks. And our faces became volcanic ridge lines from mosquito bites. And at the end of that 24 hours, where we got 20 minutes of sleep and we were raking leaves with our bodies for our debris hut and not finding any food, I realized with some of my other survival colleagues that we must suffer in order to gain spirituality. We can't just get spirituality by living a perfect life and thriving and pretending this toxic positivity is all okay. That suffering informs our spirituality.
100%. I think that is an absolutely great point. I know for myself that was the case for sure. Like 100% hands down. And like the thing, the like concept that all this conversation just comes to mind is like, you don't become a good sailor in calm seas. You know what I mean? You become a good sailor in those rough seas and learning how to, navigate that. I think that's such a true point, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yep. For real. I had 2 natural childbirths, and I feel like in those moments it instilled kind of what that you were talking about in the wilderness, like that, just like clawing to survive and very limited sleep and just pure pain at the ultimate level, right? It switched up the perception of what's tolerable. So I have a little bit thicker skin, right? And then that there's like beauty in it. Or the concept I talk about, the giver, or just black and white. One cannot exist without the other, and that awareness and surrendering is truly kind of what gets us through this in the right mindset at the very least. But the childbirth kind of instilled that in me. But I'm an aerialist and I've been doing it for a long time, and my pain tolerance is high, so I enjoy it because I used to numb it. The day I realize if I'm numbing the good, the bad, I'm numbing the good, or so I enjoy the kind of like that side of things.
Yeah. I think you made a great point there with what you were just saying, is that like within that, your perception of suffering changed too. You know, like at one point, your perception of what the suffering was something, and then because of that suffering and like moving through and feeling it and all this stuff, now you have this new perception of what suffering is that like is evolved out of that, which is really powerful.
Could you imagine being a monk in like freezing cold weathers and then just like
Yeah, I like that idea. And Danielle, your freezing cold weather is your email where you're just like totally at peace.
Think about, I mean, we could all look back, 5 or 10 years and think about what you used to perceive as suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And now how much of that, like, you don't even notice anymore. Like, I used to perceive my Dunkin' Donuts coffee in the morning that was made wrong being suffering. And now I'm just like,
that's funny.
I make my own coffee because I know I'm in control of that, right? I mean, I live an hour from any Dunkin' Donuts, so that's different. But like those little things used to be suffering to me until I realized that there are so much other things that we can focus on that lead to growth. And focusing on my anger about the coffee being wrong, like it doesn't serve anyone, especially me and all of the people that I'm going to touch and affect and put that energy and ripple on in the day. That's who it affects. And I see it with my client. It literally, like that one bad coffee in the morning that you label bad and you fixate on and suffer from all day long, it can literally get carried until your time with your family at night. And your time with your family at night is then not good and not to the highest benefit to you and best quality because of the freaking coffee at 7 a.m. Like, so we give ourselves suffering that we don't need to give ourselves. And I think it's also twofold where we need to look at the current suffering and see like, where are the lessons? How can we look and say, all right, I'm here, I've arrived, like we were talking about earlier. Like I prepared myself. This past suffering has prepared me to be here where I've arrived. And now I'm preparing through this suffering for the next place I'm going to arrive.
Yes. So I think that's the trick with suffering, right? Because we're all going to suffer, no matter how young or old. That's just a part of life. We will suffer. We must have clarity in the suffering. You must feel it, sure. You must have your pity party and truly have it where you cry yourself to bed at night. But in the morning, we must seek clarity, or else that suffering will continue. And that clarity is realization, right? We must realize we're one, suffering, and then two, realize we've arrived. We've arrived at this goal, at this vision that we were envisioning years ago. We arrived after months of all this work, everything around us, whether it be the clothes that we're wearing or the furniture around me, the furniture in my waiting room right now, my clinic, we worked so hard for, previous us worked so hard for, and we must realize we've arrived. Because if we don't realize we've arrived, we will keep fighting a battle that's already won.
Oh.
Most definitely, man. When you talk about that, like I never used to think like that. And I remember specifically like the day when I had that realization of like, okay, everything in my life had to happen the way it had to happen. Like all the charges and all the stuff and all the crap that I went through had to happen that specific way. And if anything had changed just a little bit, I wouldn't be where I am today and like, getting these opportunities and having the ability to grow my business and living a life that I'm just like astounded at, and like that realization just like solidified life, and the way that life can be. I totally agree with you. And I think that's such a key piece in living.
As a hyper creative, I have a very hard time being present because I'll go create on a different realm for a while and come back to this one and make it happen.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. So that concept of saying I've arrived allows me to be more present, which is a struggle for me. So just that awareness, kind of hearing it from that perspective, like I've arrived, is very helpful. I'm gonna definitely look at it from that point of view instead of just being present. Maybe it's more like I've arrived. That fits my drama personality perfectly. So I'm, like I think that's just a refreshed way to kind of seeing life and being present, because it's really hard. For me in particular, I can openly say, and I'm like required to be creative. I have to pause and be in my mind and make things happen. And that has to be organized too. And so sometimes it can feel a little unbalanced or not productive or things of that nature, and kind of takes me out of my kid time with my kids or something, or with friends. And so that's like a really refreshed way to kind of get through the day. I like that. I've arrived.
It is refreshing, right? It like takes the weight off when you have whatever you need to realize from that suffering. Once you realize it, it lightens your load so that you can move forward. So the challenge that I might have for listeners is, what is your suffering? Identify that, feel it, feel that it fucking sucks, and it sucks all the time. That's the area you're in. Once you've felt that, what realization do you need to come to about that suffering?
Yeah, most
Powerful,
definitely.
powerful stuff. We are so blessed to have you here with us today.
Indeed.
Danielle, you want to switch up this convo with
the all right. What well-known song title would best describe your life right now?
Well-known song title.
Oh man, I gotta open my Pandora to listen.
Okay, let's take a second.
Because here is how my mind works. And Danielle, I kind of think I step into a little bit of creativity here. I know I always say I'm not creative, but I recognize it's a
what do you mean?
Very disempowering belief about myself. But here's how I create: is my feelings are my Pandora list. Like, you could go back and see what songs I've repeated over and over for these past 5 days and identify like right where I am emotionally in the suffering.
I think that speaks so much to the power of music. I love hearing that, because oh man, music is where it's at.
I think I have something on the top of my head, and it's really like a song. I remember my mom hearing me rap it while painting my apartment before moving to Florida. So I was about to plunge my life in a totally different direction. And she goes, I can see why you relate to this song. And it meant the world to me. And more recently, there's a part of it that I reword to say my name. And I feel like I've been really clearing out my ability to speak and stand up for myself and have boundaries. I have a podcast, I run a meeting. So, I've just been silenced a lot, and my art doesn't require me to speak, right? And so I think it's just a new avenue. And it's called Juicy by Biggie. And there's a part where it talks about how people are going to pay to hear Danielle speak.
Very cool.
You know what part of the song I'm talking about, right? I'm having. So I reword the song a little bit. There's like 3 words I change, and it's very relatable for me, especially the second half of the song. But there is a portion of it that talks about hearing, and I say Danielle speak, and I say like. So I'm going to go with that for now. What about you, Catherine? I feel like you can.
My song would be one that I listened to this morning. I just found it. Sailfish by Matt Williams. It's an instrumental, kind of high vibration song. And it just makes me feel like I'm a little sailfish in this crazy freaking ocean of suffering and chaos where nothing really has meaning. So I'm just a fish that gets to create meaning out of nothing, and just kind of swim around in this sea of meaninglessness. And that's okay. That's okay for things to not what am I trying to say?
Nothing really matters.
Nothing really matters at the end of the day. Like we just
There's
had a whole
another song.
conversation about suffering and you need to find meaning and realizations out of it. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We're all going to die in like a couple to a few decades. So just make the most of it.
Powerful. Graham, what about you? I feel like you have a very artistic, creative side. He says 1 minute. 1 minute. He's muted.
Metallic song.
It is. It is.
Very fitting. I'm like with it. I'm glad we brought that song up.
Yes, I almost said that, but then I couldn't remember who sung that song, and I'm like, who is
I
it?
did. The minute she said those words, that's when she started describing the feeling of being the fish. I was like, nothing really matters, and that was the song that came to mind. Was a Metallic song.
Yeah, let's just stop the podcast. We'll just spawn some Metallica and jam.
Oh my God, I love it. Like, does anyone else get annoyed when your favorite song's on and people want to talk to you?
Yes.
Like you're available for conversation. Like, no, I'm not right now for another 2 minutes and 42 seconds.
Oh my God. I love that you said that. So I'm a super huge Seinfeld fan. Really, because like I love mindless TV when I need to have that mindless time and stuff that I could just like come in and out of, not because I'm literally just sitting there coming in and out of TV. And so there was an episode where Elaine starts dating these guys who, when a song comes on, they just like, they turn, you know how old school TV is, they turn their heads and they just like start to be immersed in Elaine, Elaine from Seinfeld, she never stops talking. And they're just like, no. I get so mad because everyone on Seinfeld is so self-centered, but she gets so mad about it. And it's the funniest thing ever. So that's funny that this conversation is coming up. Mine would be Rise Up by, I think it's Andra Day. It's a really older song.
I just performed that. Ariel Stokes at the basketball game.
Yep.
Wow.
And so I love that song because it is such a, like, every word is such a reminder of like, it doesn't matter what shit storm you're in, all you got to do is rise up. And I think that Kat, you have a really good point of like recognizing, sitting in it, then rising up, right? So not pretending that the shit storm is not happening. We got to stop pretending shit storms don't happen. Recognize them, sit in them, and then rise up.
Dude, my mind is blown. I performed that song last minute. We changed the song because it was to Lewiston Strong dedication, which was the mass shooting. And that's the song I picked to dedicate. That is mind blowing to me that you just picked that song. Like,
I know, it's the freaking universe
showing the perfect song. It was. When I found that song, I was like, done. Yeah. I was like, that's it. Oh, so good.
That's awesome.
Wonderful.
I would have to say I was just looking at my playlist, and as far as song titles go, it's so tough for me to pick music because, like we've all mentioned, there's like it changes so much, and I listen to so much different stuff. But the song title that best describes where I'm at right now, I would have to say, is the Coldplay song "Adventures of a Lifetime." Which is a good song. It's like one of their almost dance style songs with the good beat, like EDM kind of vibe to it. So
it's got like a reggae feel from that song, like a very instrumental beatish, like you said, like you can almost feel the vibes from that song. There's some songs you can feel vibes from.
Exactly.
Fun fact about Graham is he recorded me at a show once, and there was a band, and he spent the next like 3 hours straight just jumping, dancing, dancing, and he didn't stop. And he was so connected to the band, mind you, like I'm over in the corner exhausted at this point and just kind of like, absorbing the room. And yeah, there's Graham at the foot of the stage, and he just didn't move from it. So he worked, and then he was like completely a part of the crowd and was just one with the band. It was cool to see that side of you.
Well, as a drummer for myself, the part of the reason is dancing is the closest thing to actually playing the drums without actually playing the drums, because it's all like beat oriented, and you're feeling with the beat, bobbing up and down, getting the groove. So yeah, I love dancing.
I love that. Oh my gosh, this conversation has been just amazing. Dr. Locke, thank you so much for being with us here today. It is Dr. Cat. I know. I'm like, I just want to call you Cat.
It's a cool last name. Let's be real.
Good, right?
Like, that's a nice name.
It means camel and perseverance in Chinese.
Wonderful.
Interesting. I did not know that. That's powerful. That's powerful. Yeah. You are a powerhouse. I mean, I am like so grateful that I was connected to you for a very short time through Danielle. I think the universe like just brings people to you, and you are just such a powerhouse, amazing soul. And it's rare that you feel those vibes from people. And you like just literally radiate those vibes, and I love it. Like your true self, like you've stepped into your true self, and I love that for you. Remind us where we can find you.
You can find me on my website, riverrockclinic.com. That's my clinic's website. You can find my email or call me. I'll be the direct person to answer those calls and emails. And thank you for having me on today.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Thank you to our listeners. Listeners, thank you so much for listening to the Unfiltered Path podcast. Make sure you go and subscribe and like. We are on YouTube, the Unfiltered Path podcast. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. So make sure you're following us everywhere. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, make sure you give us a like and share us with your friends and your family who need that inspiration, that hope. And we hope that you will send us some questions. Like we're open to questions from our listeners now. So as you're listening to these podcasts, we are recording seasons ahead. And so discuss questions. We would love to answer your questions in the most unfiltered, raw way from entrepreneurs that come on here. We've always got amazing guests that bring lots of amazing content and inspiration. So thank you so much. My name is Trinity Baker, and I am a mindset coach. You can find me at thetrinitybaker.com and on all social media platforms as the Trinity Baker. I am joined here with my amazing co-host.
Hi, I'm Danielle. Again, I'm the owner of Ariel Jade. You can find me on media by that. You can also live chat with me on my website, which is my favorite. And please, I run the Unfiltered Path podcast Instagram, and we're trying to get our numbers up. So please support. And a shout out to Catherine. Catherine was a student of mine as an aerialist. She's also a tango dancer and full-rounded, fabulous queen. But I'm also here with the king, who is my co-host.
Awesome. My name is Graham Duval. Valued Productions is my business, and we help your business grow with video marketing strategies. You can find me online at valuedproductions.com. That's VALUD productions.com. And same with all social media at Valued Productions. And again, this was a great conversation. I'm super excited to have our awesome guest here today. That's you.
You wanted to just say goodbye.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening, y'all. I think this podcast is amazing. I think it brings an unfiltered, raw viewpoint on life from entrepreneurs that are among us and really relatable. And I'm really excited to continue these connections with your amazing co-hosts in this life of suffering, realization, and moving forward.
Thank you so much, Kat. We appreciate you being here, and make sure to stay tuned for our release every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.